Hey there, wellness entrepreneur. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about how publicly failing can change everything and why your mistakes are actually your biggest growth edges and they can become marketing assets if you want to share them. And I do encourage sharing those stories that you want to share or trying sharing them going through your growth edge because right now people are really wanting to connect to the person. And failing is part of the process as an entrepreneur. It's the only way we can grow and learn from our mistakes and really grow that business that we want to grow. And I know if you're anything like me, that you're ambitious, you work hard, you hate wasting time, you like to be efficient, and you're a bit of a perfectionist in some areas of life because I can definitely laugh. And you've heard me say this before, like when it comes to interior designing or keeping my house super clean and organized, that is not an area I even try to be perfect in. But when it comes to my business, perfection is a goal I strive for. And it's not from a place of as much of judging and critiquing myself. If I look at it from a selfish side, it's more from a people pleasing, but it's also, I don't want to disappoint my audience. I want my audience to succeed and grow so much. I don't want to fail because of them, because it'll slow them down. So, for a lot of reasons, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And actually, I had a whole separate episode to be recorded today, but I thought I would do this one because it's very raw. So, I just got finished not too long ago teaching my Manifest and Move, my monthly somatics slash yoga, gentle movement, meditation, manifestation class, and I had a public fail. So normally when I show up to class, I check my audio, I get feedback from the audience if they can hear and see me. And I've just taught so many classes online that when my live audience showed up, I didn't check for feedback. I thought I had the chat open, but actually I just had the room open so I could see the students and the chat was not open. And I just launched right away into the class. And you know what? My AirPods were not connected to Zoom, which is not that big of a deal if A, I did not also have music playing through Zoom from my Spotify. I was sharing my Spotify through Zoom. And B, I moved away from my MacBook because I taught on the yoga mat so people could see my full body. And because of that, the music was at times, especially depending on the position of the posture and what I was doing and the style of music that was playing, it was mostly softer, slower music. But in the middle, towards the peak of the class, I did have some vocalists, music with vocals. The music overpowered my voice. And I did not know till the very end when I saw one of my students commented in the chat that they were having a hard time hearing me and that the music was loud and overpowering my voice. Immediately, I felt so much disappointment, shame, and frustration. So I thought I would share this journey with you because there will be times if you're showing up hard, if you're showing up big, if you're taking risks, if you're being vulnerable, that you'll publicly fail in front of people that you really care about. I care about my audience and I wanted them to be able to hear what I was saying. I took a long time too, where there's that time efficiency to plan the class and just wanted them to get the most of it. Another way that I've publicly failed is I work alongside many of you growing my Instagram. Now, I've made a lot of money on Instagram. I've more than doubled my revenue. I've hit my revenue monthly milestones and markers and goals I've been trying to hit all alongside while slowly growing my audience and testing new content. Because the way to grow your audience, if you come to the live Instagram workshop I have coming up in September 9th, you can register using the links in the show note, or you come to the Instagram message makeover clinic. Then you know that trying different types of content, styles, and messaging is a way to determine what your audience wants to hear more of and what doesn't land and what doesn't resonate. So there's been time. Well, if I look back, most of my audience now I'm close to 11,000 followers, and most of that audience has come from just the last couple of years, maybe even the 18 months or so. prior to that, if I look at all the content, now I have over 3,000 posts. That's a lot of freaking content. It's been a lot of cringe, a lot of flops. And that doesn't bother me so much, right? Because I can laugh at myself somewhat. But what bothers me is sometimes there's been content that I've been trying to, part of when I was in my Instagram mastermind with one of my coaches, I've recently switched. And maybe at some point I'll come up with an episode why. But when I was in this mastermind, it was good in terms of the information that I learned. This coach was very, very knowledgeable and very, very good. There were some experiences in the container that deserves its own episode, but I feel very complete and I'm very grateful that I was part of that whole experience and I really learned a lot. And now I'm in a different container for Instagram. But that coach was always telling me, Allison, work on your hooks, be bolder, be more controversial, be more scroll stopping, that sort of thing, which is very uncomfortable for me because I didn't want to be gimmicky. I didn't want to be clickbaity, broy, slimy, salesy. But to figure out ways to do this in alignment, you sometimes have to bump up on growth edges that are out of alignment to figure out, okay, that doesn't work, but I tried it. That's the far end of my spectrum, right? Most of us stay on the opposite side of the spectrum where we're not testing the waters at all. We're playing very, very safe. But I was testing my growth edges and I put out a few pieces of content that were too controversial or too publicly like poking the bear in terms of pain points, or my intention was not this at all, but almost to my audience, the way it was received shamed them for a mistake that they were making by calling them out in a certain way. Like, you're doing this and this is why you're getting this consequence type of thing. Although that was not my intention, that's how it was received. And how do I know? Because people messaged me and they're like, Allison, I love your content. I've been following you. I got a couple, not a huge amount, just a couple. Like, I've been following you a long time. I really look for every reel. And this piece of content, this message hit me hard. Or this message, but not in a positive way. I forget the exact words, but how I received what they were telling me is that it didn't land the way that it usually does. And instead of taking insights and perspectives that would motivate them, it caused them to freeze or question themselves or not feel good, essentially. I never want anyone to feel that way. That's another example of a public failure, content not landing the way that I really desired it to land. And that happens. And another type of public failure that I still go through is on consultations, right? How to know how much to push a client so they understand where their errors and thinking might be if they're deciding not to work with you or to wait 6 months or they're balking or uncertain, how much to push a client in the coaching of helping them to make the best decision for themselves on a consultation, being clean and not making it from fear or scarcity, and how much is actually just pushing them too much. And in consultations, I might have pushed people too much. Now, this is from my own perspective because it's hard to know. It's not like those people really come out and say, this feels slimy or icky, but they end up being a no, or they quickly get off the call, or they schedule a follow up. So they're kind of people pleasing and then they cancel that follow up. Now, this is just, again, my perspective when I evaluate and look back on the call and reflect on it, because I always try to get learnings from every call, even if it is a yes, where I'm like, okay, maybe I pushed them too much. So it's from my own perspective. Maybe the person didn't really feel this way, but I always try to be really conscious of that. So the reason why I'm telling you all this is because I want to give you a process today on what to do when you do fail publicly so that you can process it. That's often a misstep. We'll go over the steps, but it's so that you can learn and then go forward in a different way and have the courage to keep evolving and growing so you don't get kind of plateaued and stuck or even move backwards. I'm calling this the regulated resilience strategy. And it's specifically designed for wellness entrepreneurs who want to build trust through their own emotional intelligence and problem solving abilities and to be better connected to the audience. Because here's the truth: after you finish this process for yourself, you might feel confident enough to do what I'm doing and share it with your audience because it could help them. Maybe there's times where you publicly failed or just failed hard through your own weight loss struggle or through your own health challenge where you've tried something and it's really flopped, or you invested a lot of time thinking it was the solution and then it wasn't. Or where you were wrong, where you thought this one way was the strategy and then after trying and trying and trying and it wasn't. So you don't have to share everything, but you can share it with your audience as well. Because here's the truth, your ideal clients aren't just looking for someone who handles challenges professionally. They're looking for someone who stays centered while doing it. Now, that does not mean perfect because part of this process is to break down and process and honor what you're feeling, but they're able to rebuild themselves back up again, regulate themselves, and go forward. So instead of trying to hide it or jump straight into fix it mode, I first take a few minutes to regulate my nervous system. And I'll go over a few examples of how I do that. I also acknowledge what I'm feeling. And then when I'm more regulated, I allow that to drive the problem solving decisions I'll make to go forward. So, when you start to embrace this process, you'll stop hiding when things go sideways and you'll start showcasing your emotional regulation and problem solving skills. Here's what shift: content creation will become easier. You'll have real examples of your own nervous system tools in action to share with your audience. Your engagement will increase because people will see you practicing what you preach, not being perfect and in the moment. So, kind of under pressure. You attract clients who want someone who can practice what they preach and stay centered and mess up at times and not just perfect all the time. And consultation calls will feel more confident because you've improved your own emotional mastery, your ability to feel a broad spectrum of moments at any time. Long term, you'll become the go to practitioner for overwhelm and stress clients who need to learn regulation themselves or try to hustle or outrace feeling bad or being perfect and people pleasing themselves. Your wait list will filled with people who trust your ability to hold space for them. You can charge premium rates because your nervous system mastery equals unshakable leadership. And you'll sleep better knowing clients seeing you both skilled, making mistakes, and learning from it. Okay, so here is the strategy. I'll give you the overview and then we're going to break it down. So, number one is identifying what went wrong. So, after you have a mistake or a public fail, it's acknowledging what went wrong. Then it's pausing and acknowledging what you're feeling and then feeling it. This is key and often missed. And I'll give you some ways to do this. Then you're going to pivot. So, the immediate action or the action you will take to course correct, and then progress, what you'll implement in the future to prevent, improve for the next time. And then the promise, if you want to communicate with your clients on how this experience makes you better and how you learn from it. So, again, they can continue to trust you and they can also connect with you and learn from your experiences. I'll break it down for myself and then I'll break it down for you. If we use this whole reason why this episode was sparked when I didn't connect my audio correctly, well, it's not even that. The audio was not corrected correctly. I also didn't check with my audience, something that I normally do. I didn't do a sound check. So that was a problem. That's what went wrong. When I paused and reflected afterwards, I felt a lot of embarrassment. I felt shame. I felt frustration. I felt disappointment. And I felt concern for my audience because I didn't want them to waste their time too. How I regulated? Well, I immediately got up and started moving. Some of you know I have a driveway outside the shed. So I walked up and down the driveway a few times. I did some tapping and I was thinking of like, how could I course correct this situation? What really happened? What am I feeling? I was honoring what was going on in my body. I also took a few deep breaths. I also messaged one of the students in class who was my friend to get her feedback, like, how was it really? And that provides a little safety for myself. Now, it wasn't the greatest. She was honest with me and said, yeah, the audio was not that great. So, okay, how can I create safety within myself? For me, it's learning to process that and then course correct for my audience. That creates safety. So that's part of the next step. So after I pause, I say, okay, pivot. What action can I do to course correct this mistake for people that have paid? Because I had a bunch of people that paid for this class. Some attended live and some were getting the replay. They told me they were traveling for vacation and they would get the replay. So, number one, I offered students that told me that they had a difficulty hearing, whether it was live. The person that did comment in the chat, I just offered this to her straight away. And then I wrote in the replay email that if anyone had difficulty hearing, that they could message me, and I gave a free code so they could attend next month's class for free. So I felt like that was a way to pay it forward, that they could come again and try again and hopefully get benefit. Also, I wanted to take action to course correct for the time for those that did show up live, and those that did want to watch on the replay, because someone mentioned in the email as I was communicating with her when I offered her the free code, which she was very appreciative about, that she knew I was saying good things, but couldn't quite get the full gist of it. So I am checking with my VA right now to see if I can easily get that. Now, I don't know if it's possible, if the audio is really bad, to have it transcribed, because AI, you can drop it into different AI tools like otter.ai. You can have a video transcribed. Now, if the audio is not so good, it might not be able to pick it up, but I'm going to try to do that. And then I'll also send out the transcription so people can kind of see the poses and see the main messaging. And then they can, just do the practice themselves while listening to the music, because I actually created the playlist specific for August. I really love that playlist, so they can do the practice that way. And the third thing I did was immediately in the email to that one student who I was communicating with, and in the replay email, is offered a really brief summary of the month of August, the theme about showing up and how to do that, as well as the journaling prompts and questions I was asking in the beginning of a class for the meditation, so they can still capitalize on that for their time spent and for their investment. So that was the pivot. Those are the actions I took immediately after I paused to course correct. And I feel good about them. It took a little bit of time, a time that I originally had planned for other things. In fact, I'm recording this podcast almost 2 hours late because I just really wanted to make sure that things were set right with this. And even though in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge deal, but it is. I really value people's time. So I did take the time to make sure that it was course corrected, but from a regulated place from me, not from hustly franticness. And then progress. What I am hoping to implement and improve for the next time, I'm going to check my audio and make sure that my AirPods are connected through Zoom. It's hard to test the music audio ratio when you're the one talking, but I can get feedback from my audience, which is what I usually do, that I skipped over this time. So I'm definitely doing that back in the future, every class. And those are the two steps that I'm going to have. And then also, I'm going to tell my audience the third thing is that if they are having trouble hearing me, that they can at any time during the class, of course, unmute themselves and let me know. And so that is my promise for my students to help make the experience better for the future. And then also, I'm sharing it with you in hopes that sharing my mistakes can help to inspire you to show up boldly and know that it's okay to make mistakes and that you can create safety in your body afterwards and you can process it and move forward. So I go through a similar process when I do get messages like that from content or after a consultation call. Consultation calls, I really slow down and do this because I really like to evaluate my consultation calls. But for content, it really depends on how much I think I might have disconnected with my audience. If it was a big disconnect where someone really feels called out or shamed, then I might have a longer conversation with someone and really take the time to take a step back from my content and evaluate and process what I'm feeling. But if it's just some rando lurker leaving comment and my content was actually okay, it might just be more processing what I'm feeling about a negative content from a stranger troll person. It really depends. So it might not take that long at all. And as mentioned, I wanted to highlight some ways to regulate your own nervous system. Of course, you can always get down on the mat and do your own movement practices, somatic practices, breath work, tapping, journaling, having a conversation with ChatGPT, having a conversation with a friend. You can do all these, a combination of them, just taking a pause, listening to music, talking to your partner, going for a walk. naming what you're feeling and why, worst case fears, all of these are ways to just honor what you're experiencing and allowing it to process through. And when you do that, that's when creativity opens up, where then you can problem solve and make corrections to go forward. Okay, so let's talk about this thought: if you're sharing public problems, won't it make you look unprofessional? Well, here's the truth. At some point in your business, you're going to make mistakes. I haven't met an entrepreneur yet that has never made a mistake. It's just not possible. We're humans. So it's going to happen. You're going to look unprofessional in that moment anyway. If you're worried about sharing that publicly, if you're able to do what I'm doing, where you're sharing the experience and then giving the learning, that package makes it appear professional, where it's not messy. People aren't left hanging in distrust, wondering if you're going to show up again. You're saying, hey, I did this. This happened. I'm moving forward. Here's how. And now you're on to the next thing. Your audience knows you're still going to be there. The trust is not broken. Here's the reality too. People don't hire perfect. They hire proven problem solvers. So when you show up handling challenges professionally, you're proving that you can manage whatever comes up for them in their wellness journey, that you're going to be able to relate to them and understand them and not shame them or criticize or judge them. Think about it. Would you rather work with a practitioner who pretends nothing has gone wrong, or one who shows you exactly how they handle obstacles and mistakes and keep showing up and delivering results? Your ability to navigate challenges doesn't disqualify you. It makes you the perfect person to help others who are also facing challenges and mistakes in their journey. And the personal story, the hero's journey, it is not to be trending, and we're doing things always trending. But if you are wanting to grow your audience, if you're just following what matters to people right now, it is connection. And you sharing a personal story, it positions you as the authority. It also positions you as an expert because you're showcasing what you do know and what you have done. And it's a big place of connection where they can say, oh, she gets me. It's relatable. Okay. So that's often another huge benefit of sharing your story. And here's the truth also. Every time you disappear from your marketing when something doesn't go perfectly, you're missing an opportunity to show your ideal clients exactly what they should do when they encounter a mistake. Do you want your clients to hide and shame and beat themselves up? You're showing them what's possible. And because of that, you're connecting with them again and increasing that potential for them to choose you over some other practitioner who maybe is even more experienced or equally qualified, but just talks about theory or just highlights the didactics of wellness. Do these steps, drink water, right? It's another dimension, and that dimension in your emails or in your social media or wherever you show up is huge. It's everything. And while you're hiding until you have something positive to share, someone else is demonstrating their problem solving skills. Someone else is sharing their mistakes in real time and booking clients who truthfully might have been yours. So the wellness industry is full of people who only show their wins. Your ability to handle challenges professionally isn't just a marketing strategy, it's a competitive advantage as well, if that motivates you. Maybe it's just the service and connection that motivates you. You do you. Take what resonates. Okay, here's your challenge. This week, share one piece of content using this resilience recovery protocol if you feel like sharing a mistake. Otherwise, just pick a mistake and run through the resilience recovery protocol and notice how you feel. Compare it to other challenges or mistakes you made in the past. Are you able to problem solve clearer? Do you trust yourself more? Maybe you just feel more regulated going forward. Just notice the difference. I would love to hear. So definitely tag me, tag me in a post or send me a message here on the podcast or in the Apple. You can leave it in a review or message me on Instagram, Ignite Your Wellness Business. I would love to hear. Of course, share this with a friend who maybe needs to hear this today and who's really afraid of publicly failing. Okay, and stay tuned. This month of September coming up is going to be a big month, and I'm going to be talking about it throughout August. I have two back-to-back things that are going to complement each other. So Monday, September 8th, 2025, we're doing the next manifest and move. And as I mentioned, I'm going to test the audio. You'll get replay. And if there are mistakes, you'll be handsomely compensated for it. And if everything goes right, the feedback I've been getting from these classes is that they are really so beneficial in terms of feeling so much better starting the month, grounded, centered, confident, certain are things described, as well as getting insights and downloads a few weeks after in terms of knowing what to do on the path of cultivating your bigger business goals. So that's feedback I've gotten from people. So get signed up for that. I'm going to work on continuously embodying showing up courageously, more visibly, while still feeling centered and in alignment, and being able to overcome imposter syndrome and doubt, for example. Also, you can, for example, show up more confidently on Instagram. Be more courageous to try different types of posts, be bold in what your profile says, sharing client stories, all that type of work. And that's what I have for you on Tuesday, September 9th, is the Instagram message makeover workshop. I'm going to go over the 3 steps on how to 2 times your audience. Now, many of my clients have done that. They've 2 times their audience. They've more than 2 times their views, and I'm going to go over how to do that. And it's a 2-hour workshop. It's $7. And in this workshop, we're actually going to be workshopping some of those things. So you're going to come out having some changes in your Instagram profile. And it's an opportunity for $7 to get coached by me live. This was invaluable for the people that have attended last time I did it. So I highly recommend getting registered for that now. So Monday, September 8th is the manifest and move. So you're going to get the courage, the confidence to then implement the strategies you're going to learn on September 9th. So then by the end of the week, you're going to be on fire. You're going to have confidence in yourself, trust in yourself, and you're going to have the strategies to know exactly what to do to 2 times your audience, sign more wellness clients on Instagram so you can start hitting those 5-figure months and more consistently. So go ahead to the show notes to get registered for both of those. It's definitely going to pay you in dividends for your time and money investment. And then after that workshop, the doors are opening to the next round of the Instagram Message Makeover Clinic. We are starting the first week of October. There are some early bird bonuses, especially if you show up live to the workshop. There's bonuses just for you, and also bonuses if you get enrolled in the very first couple of days. And also the people that are in the cohort working with me now, you have a special renewal bonus that I've reached out to you personally. So make sure you check your DMs on Instagram to find out what that is. I personally messaged you. So lots of abundance to go around working with me, because I truly want you to end 2025 feeling so proud of what you accomplished and look back on this year and be like, oh my God, I showed up. I feel differently. I showed up a different way, and look at how much my business has grown. You can totally do it. We've got plenty of time if you're doing this work right now. Okay. So I'll see you in those containers. And of course, next week here on the podcast. Bye for now.